Okay, is Idaho a tax lien or a tax deed state? We're gonna cover that in this video. I can't wait to get to this one. Sometimes the simplest answer to a question can be the most profitable, and that's what this video is all about. Now, some of the things you're gonna learn in this video, if you haven't been to Idaho, it's just a beautiful state. How about this? I'm gonna show you how you can actually buy a house and own it free and clear while you're camping on your summer vacation. So before the coals go out in your campfire, you'll own a house immediately and own it free and clear when doing things in Idaho. This is like the old Sears catalog, for those of you old enough to remember that. You can mail order your own house, okay, and have immediate ownership. So we're gonna show you all those things before we get done. So here's the key with Idaho. Idaho is a deed state, if you didn't guess already. And they hold their sales between June and September. That's what I'm saying. You can go camping and buy a house through the mail, because they let you do that, and own it immediately because it is a deed state. There is no redemption period. So when you say, I do, you are married to that property and you own it. It is a tax deed. So when you pay the property taxes on the back of that, you own it free and clear. There is no redemption period. And if you do your homework right, you can own it for 30, 40, even 50% of the fair market value. Let's talk about the bidding process in Idaho. Okay, bottom line is you're buying the property for the back taxes. Now, if you remember in other videos, okay, any tax lien turns into a tax deed, and no tax deed can be sold unless they've been delinquent a minimum of 4 years. So the starting bid is going to be anywhere from 4 to 5 years in delinquent property taxes. So if you've got a $350,000 fair market value property, let's say that there's $15,000 or even $20,000 in property taxes owed. That's where the bidding is going to start. Okay, so if it starts at, say, let's go with $20,000. That's the opening bid. Who's ever willing to pay the most for that property will become the successful bidder. So if it's $350,000, I'm in the bidding process and we bid it up to, I don't know, $150,000, I win that property. Now here's the key, we've talked about this in another video. Understand exactly how and when the county wants that money, not the state. Every county is going to have their own version of when they want that money. Remember, these are all state statutes. These are state laws that have been around for 200, 100, 150, depends on how long the state has. So the state says, these are the guidelines that we have. This is what you have to do. The counties will interpret that any way they want. It says, well, we want our money by the end of the day. Oh, we want it in the form of a cashier's check. Oh, you have to have a deposit before the sale. It is up to you to go to the county's website and make sure you understand exactly what they need there. Now, I know this is going to kind of frustrate you younger people out there, but this is where that relationship comes into. Reading the website is all fine and dandy. Don't be afraid to pick up the phone. Remember that. Make a friend at the county and say, hey, I see that this is how you want it. I'll give you an example. Okay, there's a state out there, we won't mention it because it doesn't matter, where they're saying, oh, you have to have the money right then and there. I go, I think they offer wires. You can do wires. Just by picking up the phone call, my student found out that they could wire the money at the end of the day. And it made all the difference in the world because he's West Coast, they're East Coast. If he was a successful bidder, he could call his bank and initiate that wire before the end of business day and the county would have it. That affords them the ability not to be carrying a backpack full of cash out there. Now, in some other areas, you have that. So this is where you call the county and says, I'm reading your frequently asked questions. And this is what they're saying. Is there anything I'm missing? Listen, there's a lot that I just packaged up in there. If you've got questions or you have a particular experience that you've had out there, this would be a good time to write me that question. I answer all those in the comments down below. Now, one of the things that you're going to enjoy about some, I said that word some of the counties. And you guys, this is so beautiful. Okay, we've got 50 states. We've got over 5,000 taxing jurisdictions. The reason I have to break these down into states and then into counties is because this method, the Saen Higgins method, you can't go out there and say, here's how you do it all over the United States. Every single county will interpret their way of doing it. So in some counties, in Idaho, You can buy them online through Bids for Asset. I'll put a link down in the description down below. Okay, so a few of them there you can literally buy online. Remember, if you got some internet connection and you're out there in the woods somewhere hanging out with Smokey Bear, and you can buy yourself a tax deed strictly by going through their website. Now, not all of them do that, but again, this goes back to knowing your particular area. And I want to kind of piggyback on what I just talked about with the beauty of this. One of the things that I've learned in all this, and hopefully some of us had a civic lesson, not to get, trigger anybody, but during COVID, one of the things a lot of people realized is the state had their own rules about COVID, then each county interpreted their rules differently on that. And when that started happening, I'm like, yeah, that's how it's been working for me for 27 years at this point. At that point, I had been doing tax liens and tax deeds. What I found out real quickly doing this is it's important to understand how the state has their laws set up, but then you've got to find out how the county is going to interpret those laws. For instance, if I walk into a county in Idaho and they tell me the only way I can buy a tax deed is if I'm there in person and they see the whites of my eyes, then guess what? They're right. Don't argue with them and say, but the county next door allows me to do it through the mail. They don't care. This is what Mary or Sally or Joe or whoever's running that department says. It's what works for them is what's going to make those rules work for you. So this is where I'm talking, always you're going to hear me about building that relationship and understanding what works there. And understand, these are probably some of the most overworked and underpaid people out there, okay? So a little honey goes a long way when having these conversations. Sometimes I'm sure they have a whiteboard in the back of their office that has goofiest question of the day. Don't be that person that gets on that board. Be respectful of their system and just flow with it. Okay, now, listen, with Idaho, it goes with everything. I want to know about the marketplace. What's going on in that marketplace that would actually make me want to buy a property there? I want to know about the economic conditions. No time in American history have we seen such a migration movement of people. Again, I don't want to trigger anybody, but obviously COVID instituted that. So you've got all these people moving from California to Idaho to Arizona to Texas. You've got people moving from Colorado down to all of this movement's happening around there. So what's really unique about the marketplace at the time of this video is there's not things happening to the United States. It's like, well, what's happening over here ain't happening over here, which is happening over here. So what's really cool about, let's just say Idaho, because that's what we're talking about, is there's these small communities over there that can have these big increases in economic surge because I don't have to go into an office anymore. As long as I've got high-speed internet, I mean, heck, you're looking at me right now. I could have pajamas and flip-flops below here and you wouldn't know it, just like as if I'm on a Zoom call and I'm working for whatever it is. My niece works for a winery. She only has to go in the winery once a week. The rest of it's all virtual. And that's just one example of a bunch of online deals. So when you're looking at these smaller communities up there, which I normally wouldn't have looked at before, all of a sudden you're going, wait, there's some opportunity here. That wasn't maybe even 8 years ago. And we're going to talk about this in other videos. We're going to talk about land, buying land. Oh, so what was fantastic in the 90s and the early 2000s is now even more fantastic for different reasons. So when I'm looking at Idaho and I'm going, why would I want to go in there? Well, it's actually got a port in there that goes all the way to the Pacific. Didn't probably know that. The influx of what they call that, the brain drain from California. There's all these smart people that are moving to Idaho. So it's a great place for people to have like property or businesses for high tech and what have you. So if I'm getting a property, I want to make sure I've got somebody to sell it to. So understand the economics of a state before you get there is just as important as understanding the particular property. Look, there's a lot I'm bottling up in there. I've put together some of my best techniques in this in a video, okay? All you got to do is hit higginsmethod.com and we'll show you how to get there and get all this. Just sign up for that. There's so much more content there that I can't give you here. We'll see you at the end.